People have been calling Monster Hunter World the greatest game in the series, and to an extent, I agree with them. It takes series conventions, breaks them, and forms a streamlined and user-friendly experience. But after sinking a pretty decent chunk of time into the game, I no longer have any interest in playing it, even with the addition of new monsters. Why's that? Let's find out. Together. Welcome to GigaBit, the show where we talk about anything and everything that the creator, GigaByte, likes. Let's get on with it. First, let's talk about the positives. Gameplay-wise, this is the most polished game in the series by far. It's easy to tell that a lot of thought went into enhancing the hunting experience, or quality of life, without losing that Monster Hunter identity. It's a mixture of little things, like no longer needing specific tools to gather, and big things, like gaining the ability to move while drinking potions. Add in enhancements for every weapon type, redesigned monster AI, and new mechanics like the multi-purpose slinger, and you've got one hell of a revamp. And to be quite honest, it makes for an incredibly enjoyable experience for a long while. Any game that manages to suck me in for over 100 hours deserves praise. But this is Monster Hunter. It's not that absurd to sink over 1,000 hours into the series. So why did I spend only about 130 in this game when I've spent over 500 plus in previous titles? Well, again, it's a mixture of things. For one, what this game gains in polish, it loses in character. Presentation-wise, the game contrasts with the previous titles quite a bit, going for a more realistic style. And while that's all well and good for showing off dim graphics, it's a kind of a bummer that the stylizations that the game used to make up for not being the prettiest around have thinned drastically. Not all of it is gone, mind you. It lives on in things like particle effects given the charge animations and scout flies, but things like radically outlandish weapon and arm designs and even varied characters are just gone. Everyone looks the same, damn it! They all have the same proportions, they're all believable, and they're all boring. Like, screw the handler, give me something like the Guildmon from 4U, a character that has style and personality beyond I'm peppy and annoying. Screw all the fleets, except for the Huntsman, he's badass. Give me something like the Ace Hunters. Oh wow, Gig, you're complaining about the character design in a Monster Hunter game? To be fair, the characters and story weren't that big of a deterrent, but it really is a shame that the weapon and armor designs are also samey and realistic. And speaking of aesthetics, where the hell did transmogging go? I thought we were finally on the same page here. For you new hunters out there, transmogging was a mechanic introduced in Monster Hunter Double Cross, which gave hunters that met certain requirements the ability to fuse armor to create and equip with the stats of any given armor piece and the looks of any other armor piece. For example, you could be wearing a mix set comprised of a mishmash of different random parts, but have the combined look of the Ardogadon armor set. Cool, right? Well, too goddamn bad for you, it's gone! This strikes me as madness, especially when the endgame is comprised of mix sets and only mix sets. There's no coherency, there's very little style, and that's a shame considering that there's a wide amount of personality that you can give to your stats, just not your aesthetic. And you're stuck with looking lame like the rest of us. But enough clambering about how cool the older games let you look. Gameplay-wise, everything is sound, right? No. No, not really. Don't get me wrong, combat-wise it's hunky-dory. There's an absurd amount of variety given to the player. But monster-wise, it sucks ass. At least in the end game. There's a reason that I play this game for more than 100 hours. The main story of the game gives you a fairly decent amount of objectives to complete, and man, getting through them is a blast. The monster pool of this game is considerably smaller than previous titles, but the new additions and revamped old monsters make up for that by being interesting enough. But Christ man, once you hit the end game, once you hit the meta, the game screeches to a halt. At least it did for me. You see, at the very end game, when there's no more objectives to follow, the only thing left to really do is create perfect armor sets in anticipation for future content. How do you make said perfect armor sets, you ask? Well, that consists of making armor pieces with monster materials, a task that's gotten marginally easier thanks to rare materials being easier to get, upgrading said armor pieces, which again has gotten marginally easier, and then, and these are the kickers, finding decorations to add to said armor pieces and augmenting said armor. Two feats that are only accomplished by mind-numbingly tedious, monotonous grinding. It'd be okay if you were able to fight the entire range of monsters to get the materials and decorations that you need to complete an armor set. There would be enough variance then. But most likely, the things that you're looking for are only dropped by a specific group of monsters called tempered monsters. These beasts are battle-hardened, which apparently means they love to cover themselves with oil, because in reality, they're just the same monsters you've been fighting for the entire game, with the ability to hit harder and a glossy finish. No new moves, just more damage. Remember Frenzied and Apex monsters from 4U? Monsters literally coming back from the dead to wreak havoc with that interesting virus that afflicted hunters, either turning into a debuff or a buff depending on how aggressively you played? What about Hyper monsters from Generations? creating that risk reward system depending on hitting afflicted body parts to fill your arc skates faster at the risk of being hit harder. And then there's the deviants, wildly redesigned monsters designed to take aspects of their base forms to the extreme, creating unique and challenging experiences. Look, I'm not saying that these previous systems were perfect, they all had their ups and downs, but they're all certainly more interesting than just being lubed up. And even then, tempered monsters aren't exactly what you're looking for either. You see, they're split into 3 tiers. And to get the best decorations and materials, you'll have to fight monsters in the 3rd tier, the most dangerous. And so you're probably asking, how many tier 3 tempered monsters are there? 6. Only 6, and 2 of them are bastards. Tempered Kyrian and Tempered Devilzo are vastly more difficult than the others. Not in a fun way where their attack patterns are more varied and challenging. It's more in like a, if you get hit once, even with almost max defense, you're dead kind of way. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you actually have to grind for tempered monster quests to even appear. Fun. The end game in Monster Hunter always revolves around sets, but the tempered monster system limits your options so heavily that I don't really feel like it's worth it to grind for that final decoration you need. It's just so boring fighting the same small group of monsters over and over again, especially when they're essentially the exact same and when there's no guarantee that you'll even get what you need. And there's the fact that G rank is just not a thing. There goes like half of the end game. Again, for the uninitiated, the initial installment of a Monster Hunter generation only has 2 difficulties, low rank and high rank. But in a later installment, typically denoted by an ultimate or G, they gain a 3rd rank, a higher difficulty, G rank. Getting to G rank is such an integral part of the series for a guy like me. Typically, it's where you see the most variance in monsters and where the most difficult yet fair challenges stem from. But as of right now, it's just missing, and because of that, the end game just feels incomplete. Incomplete? Wow, you fuck. It's the cream of the crop and it's just missing here. So yeah, the lack of stylization and customization are a drag, but what's really driving me away from playing even another minute of the game is the lack of monster variance in the end game, the intense amount of grinding, and the omission of G rank. But to be fair, G rank is probably going to be added in future paid DLC, so that's okay. Even though Kulbtaroth, Lunastra, and Behemoth, like wow, that is such a sick crossover, look so cool, I can't bring myself to come back to the game knowing that after I get whatever item I want, I'll be stuck in the same exact position. Stuck in grinding hell. So for right now, I'm just gonna wait it out. So yeah. Thank you for watching the video. Have anything to add? Why not comment it down below? Did you like this video? If so, why not like it? And if you really like this video, why not subscribe and follow me on my socials, especially on my Twitch, we have fun there. New videos on the way, streams every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's about it. I'm gone. Bye.